Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and the biggest question I've been getting today from multiple people is, have I seen Devin Adobe Physique and his pectoralis tear? So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's see if we can figure out why Devin has torn his chesticles. Honestly, there's some biomechanics involved here. There's some bad training involved, and there's biomechanics involved. Now, for those who've seen the video, he clearly tore it while doing flat dumbbell chest presses. If we want to know what went wrong, let's stop and think about it. What is the only reason to do chest presses with dumbbells? There's one reason, and one reason only, why anyone would choose them over a barbell, besides the fact that the good bench is taken at the moment. Anybody care to know? Anybody care to guess? The stretch reflex, range of motion. Dumbbells offer you a deeper range of motion than the barbell. That means in some situations you're going to get a better stretch reflex, also known as a myotatic reflex, due to the extra stretch that they can put up on the chest. All right, for developmental purposes, there can be advantages to this. It's not guaranteed to give you better development than a bench press by any means, because you're going to have to use a lighter weight, but it can give a different type of stimulus in your chest. A stretch reflex can be a very powerful tool for gaining size, and in some cases gaining explosiveness and power. All right, so there is something to that. So that actually makes dumbbell chest presses a very viable chest exercise. They're very popular for that reason. However, a lot of people who do the exercise do it incorrectly. They completely throw away all the advantages of doing a chest press. They do partials, they have people help them at the bottom, all this other stuff. You know, they end up taking out the whole benefit of what makes this exercise fantastic. I mean, any exercise that can give you a stretch reflex has some really good hypertrophy potential. This can help you make gains. Even though I generally prefer barbell work and recommend barbell work, dumbbells in some exercises have their place. Chest presses are one of them if you're someone who has the mobility to do them and you know, really benefit from that stretch reflex that you can get there. Now, what you have happen a lot is people who short rep exercises with a heavy weight that is capable of going deeper than they normally go is dangerous. That's why I tell people, if they're going to stop short of their chest on the barbell bench press, it's dangerous to do that. People will argue, oh, no, going all the way down is dangerous. No, it really isn't. It's only dangerous if you do the exercise incorrectly. But what is dangerous is doing it without some sort of stop. Meaning, if you're not using a board press or something to limit your range of motion, you shouldn't be doing partials with a barbell. The same is going to come to dumbbells here in a minute. But the reason is, what ends up happening, you not only kind of tighten up the chest muscles because they're not getting stretched as deep as they can for the normal range of motion, it is going to start giving you slight differences in mobility. It can start to limit your mobility as you develop and get bigger. The other thing to consider there is the joint angle specificity. Meaning, when you train any joint in your body under resistance, which is generally weight training, that's most of our resistance training is weight training that most of us do. When you apply resistance, the strength that you gain only carries over at most 15 degrees from the angle that you trained it at. And anything beyond that, you're going to get dramatically different strength levels. So if you start stopping short on an exercise of the full range of motion and you get stronger through a partial, what happens to the range of motion you don't train? It doesn't gain strength, or it doesn't gain strength in proportion. So what happens? You become weaker. So if you have a muscle that is getting tighter in your mobility and being limited from doing too many partials, right, because you're not training it through the full range of motion, and you're weaker through the range of motion where it's most dangerous, what happens? What happens if the weight or your spotters accidentally let the full weight drop into the range of motion you're too weak at, in which your mobility has been compromised? You tend to get weak, it tends to pull even further, it tends to rip things. So training doing partial movements is a very, very good way to eventually injure yourself when a heavy weight comes too far down. Now, when we watched Devin set up, did you guys notice a couple things wrong? When he went to lay down to hold the weight, you notice his whole body was shaking? Any experienced coaches, experienced lifters out there already know what's going on. When he's shaking under that weight, what's happening? His nervous system is panicking. It's his nervous system saying, you're not strong enough to lift this weight. You're trying to lift a weight or do something that I can't move. And the body goes into a little bit of a panic mode. It's his body reacting, his peripheral nervous system reacting to a weight that it knows it can't handle. That shaking that he was doing is a dead giveaway that he was about to attempt a weight that he can't actually lift. And what I mean in that case, through the full range of motion, maybe he does do partials with it. Notice when he came down with it, another characteristic, his spotter helped him lift it. He helped him out of the bottom, the hardest part of the movement. His spotter had his hands on the elbows to help him lift it. What else does that tell you? He's not strong enough to lift that weight. Again, he might be strong enough to do it through a partial, but you know what? Plenty of guys can add an extra 100 pounds to an exercise when they do it in a rack and limit the range of motion. Plenty of guys can rack pull 100 pounds more than they deadlift. Plenty of guys can rack bench or even do board work with 100 pounds more than they bench to their chest. So it's not about can he lift the weight, it's that he can't lift the weight through the full range of motion on the exercise. He is not physically strong enough, so his spotter had to help him. All right? His spotter had to help him. His chest and his triceps were not strong enough to press that out of the bottom. His nervous system said so. His nervous system said so watching him shake when he laid down. His spotter having to touch it out of the bottom showed that. And here's a pro tip, guys. If you can't put dumbbells into position yourself and hold them at a dead stop at the bottom to do rep work on a dumbbell chest press, you're lifting too much weight. You're not actually strong enough to lift the weight you're trying to lift. You need to check your fucking ego at the door and do it correctly. All right? Because if you don't, what happened to Devin, that's going to happen to you. All right? Lifting weights, guys, in the gym is about building strength, not just demonstrating it. You're in the gym to get stronger or bigger, or usually both. That's usually what you're doing in the weight room. You're not there to show off. He's in there ego lifting. And you don't want to do that. You guys look at that. You younger guys, that's exactly what the fuck happens when you ego lift. When you go to do something with a weight that you're not strong enough to lift, and in this case with dumbbell presses, if you can't kick them up into position and hold them all the way at the bottom from a dead stop on the first rep, and you think you're going to do 5 or 6 or 10, you're crazy. You can't lift them. You can't lift it. If you can't pause with an 8 rep set at the bottom and hold it on your own without someone helping you get it started, you are not strong enough to lift that weight. Your ego is getting in the way of your safety, and your ego is getting in the way of your actual gains and progress. You are limiting yourself with your ego. All right? There's no need to ego lift. If you want to get stronger to impress people, then get fucking stronger. You don't need to do silly cheating and shortchange yourself in the gym to try to impress other people. Just get stronger until you are strong enough to actually impress them with your real strength. Hold those things down there at the bottom. Pause with them. Because if you can't do that, you're not strong enough to do multiple reps with that weight. He clearly wasn't. His spotter having to help him proved it. His shaking proved it. Sorry about that loud truck, guys. His shaking proved it, and the fact that when he came down and his spotter wasn't able to slow it enough at the bottom, his chest proved it. It ripped off the bone because it was subjected to a load that it wasn't strong enough to handle. That's called fucking ego lifting. And you know what? I would expect that sort of ego lifting from a guy who photoshops his physique. I mean, damn, guys. What's the whole fitness world coming to at this point where guys are photoshopping their body to put up photos? What are you guys, a bunch of bitches? I mean, think about it. Any guy who's sitting there photoshopping his physique to make it look more impressive, he damn well better not be talking about how he's a tough masculine man. Because that's shit fucking women do. That's stuff high school girls do. Photoshop yourself so you can look better than you actually look. I mean, damn. I just don't understand that. But I would expect that. That's ego. That's narcissism to the extreme. And you know what? When you take that sort of narcissism and ego and you put it under the bar in the weight room, don't be surprised when people get snapped up. But I think people can learn something from this. Watching what he did and watching how easy it is to tear a pec when you just don't have any common sense and you don't learn how to train correctly, this is what happens, guys. That's what happens. That was just pure stupidity and ego that caused that. So a lesson for you guys, if you're going to do something like a dumbbell press, if you're not strong enough to kick those dumbbells into position and hold them at the bottom on the first rep, get them into position, and then press it, you have no business lifting that weight. You shouldn't need to have a spotter help you touch it at the bottom. And even if the spotter does touch it at the bottom, you realize you're shortchanging yourself. You're actually hurting your gains if a spotter touches those dumbbells at the bottom, touches your elbows. Why? Because he's helping you bypass the stretch reflex. The stretch reflex is the entire purpose of doing a dumbbell chest press. That's the reason the exercise actually works, even though you're using a lighter weight than the barbell, because it is going to be lighter. You're not going to be able to move as much weight as you can flat bench. All right, just be honest here. You're not. But you're able to get progress off the lighter weight because of the stimulation of the stretch reflex. Well, if someone's touching your elbows at the bottom and helping you, they're bypassing the stretch reflex. You're losing all of the benefits of using the dumbbells. Don't do that, guys. You're lifting to get gains. You're lifting to make progress. You're lifting because you want to get bigger, you want to get stronger, you want to get better. Check your ego at the door, guys. Come on. Don't be like this guy, or you're going to be snapped up like this guy. It's as simple as that. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.